First of all, thank you very much for the invitation that I got from Latvia. It is my honor to be here again and to explain and inform you all about the logical gateway from China to Scandinavia. I was, the former speakers, they are people from a high level. I saw the titles, professor and so on. So, but we are in the simple business. We are in an A to B business. And that's simple, and it should be cheap as possible. And of course, we have to look to the future, 2050. But yeah, at the moment, actually, in our transport industry, we are fighting to survive for the next week, and therefore we have to find solutions also for the coming years. And we should not forget that it's already mentioned the situation in Russia. That is not in favor of us, and also the developments in Turkey that's really against the transport industry. So, yeah, the former speakers, they have written some books and so on. I will do it in the future when I have a little bit more time. But I developed in my life actually intermodal corridors that in practice our company is taking almost 100 million kilometers from the road annually, and that's quite a lot, and 95% of our trains are electrified. So I'm an intermodal architect. We developed the last 20 years own corridors into Scandinavia, Italy, Turkey, Poland, France, and Spain, and we are also now involved in the China connection from Duisburg. But I will try to explain that there is also a possibility for Latvia, and therefore I like to take you with, here we see the countries that we are passing. So I took some pictures from the involved cities and also the countries. They are big in China and a little bit smaller in Latvia, but there is some similar in it. Both cities and countries, they tend to reach the same challenge and opportunities, and that is to find the logical way for our customers from China into Scandinavia. There are really reasons for it why we should go via Latvia. Now, the first one, shorter lead times. There are three options in the shipping industry: sea, rail, and air. And actually, our project is the competition between rail and air at the moment. And what is then the most important thing for the shippers and the receivers, that is the lead time. And I think when we look to Scandinavia and China, then we are really nearby. And then we have some experience with the goods from China in the meantime. So every day is really counting, we see it. And what I just mentioned, I am involved in the Duisburg project, and our own terminal is there, so I have to promote that as well. But when I compare it with Duisburg then, and Hamburg, at least via the corridor Latvia, we can save 3 or 4 days lead time in difference. So that's really important. Less mileage, a better freight rate, so less cost. That is good for the economy and for the industry. And then you can also ask yourself, the containers from China, they are most of the time filled with also part loads and groupage. That's also possible in Latvia because we have the big European players. We know them all. They are based in Latvia, and then I ask myself the question: what is the difference if a groupage trailer starts in the Riga area, or if it starts in Poland or in Germany? So it is the same, and we can do it for better cost and also a shorter lead time. And that's what I mentioned is very important for the industry. There is no difference, only lead time and cost, what I mentioned before. And we see it more and more that lead time is counting in our transport to and from China. And another thing is that is the second one, is also better for our environment. So less mileage is less footprint, And that is what we all want, actually, in the world we are living. We don't live for ourselves. We have also look for our kids in the future. And it's also an effect on the sales. We are working for some big furniture retailer in Sweden, and also some other big importers. And the products, and where they have put a sticker on, this is transported with less footprint in an environmental way. They see that the sales records, they are going up when they mention that on the products. That is not only for the dry goods. We see it also in the food industry. When products are produced in an environmental friendly way, the consumer is getting more and more critical at the moment. And they taking that goods, even when it is a little bit more expensive, they take it. And let me be honest, we are all going for a better world. And that starts with ourselves. And for the industry where we are sitting in, that starts with transport in a responsible way. And yeah, today it's very important that we have good staff available in our warehouses, in the industry. That is really a must in logistics, and it becomes to be a unique selling point. And here in Latvia we have space. We have space for big warehouses, and we have also trained, educated staff available. And I can tell you that because I am in Latvia since 1992, when we started our company here, and we are absolutely satisfied with our staff here, and therefore I'm sure that we can offer the market the service with trained and educated staff. And that is not in every country, because the town I mentioned in Germany, Duisburg, to find people in the Duisburg area, actually, it is really, really very hard. And that can be a stop in the growth, because you need staff for unloading containers. That cannot, we can use robots, but that it will be quite difficult, I guess. But anyway, in my view, it is crucial for a total logistic chain. And Latvia is willing and able to offer the China customers this service. And I am absolutely sure that even if it is not so big as Duisburg, we can do it in a smaller scale. But we can offer that service for sure. So the routing, you see it now here on the map from China via the lower one is via the normal route today via Belarus and so on. Now then you see that the goods are going first to Duisburg, and then we transported it up to the Scandinavia, to Finland and to Sweden and Norway. And you see that is not logical when you do that straight from Riga into the countries. That is the most logical way. So not first to the west and then back to the east and the north. Absolutely unlogical, and it is also very bad for the lead time, what I said earlier, 3 or 4 days longer, and that is important for the goods that are coming by rail from China. Another important point is that Latvia can also reload the weekly train from Riga back to China with a stop in Kazakhstan, and that will reduce the cost significantly. Again, a unique selling point for Latvia, the advantage we have against the other Baltic states. And I know that at the moment from Germany, 60% of the containers are shipped back to China empty, so here is a huge opportunity. And then we know, and I heard it just confirmed by one of the other speakers, the import and the export from Sweden to and from China is more or less balanced. And I know there are some big flows from Sweden into China, so that makes it really very, very nice for the Baltics, because today we are transporting the goods from Sweden, from this area back to Duisburg, and then on the route to China. So the logical way is over the Baltic Sea and then on the train to China. So here are really possibilities. And again, we are not Duisburg or Duisport. In a smaller scale we can offer that. And we are sure that it can and it will work. And we need to join forces with some global carriers and offer them and explain them our Latvian options and solutions. And in this case, cooperation is not always easy. I know that there must be trust and control, but I'm sure that Latvia can offer them that. So we have space in Latvia for warehouses and terminals in the area of Riga. There are really pieces of land available that can offer that. And again, we should really take the opportunity and see that we can get the cooperation with the global players. We know them all. That is the DSVs and the DHLs and the Schenker of this world. And we should offer them the possibility, and that we avoided that they transport the goods down to Germany and then up to Scandinavia again. And we know that the full train is maximum 41 containers. And when you count the Baltic states, Finland and Sweden and Norway, then that should be really an opportunity to fill these 41 boxes, and that we can have a weekly and maybe 2 trains per week into Latvia that can be as a transit up into Scandinavia. Again, ladies and gentlemen, what I mentioned earlier, the market is there, and I'm sure that you and the market can count on Latvia. We have the possibilities here, and actually Latvia is also counting on you and as customers. And what I mentioned earlier, trust and control is needed for a profitable and a long-term cooperation. And I am really sure that Latvia can offer you both. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much. Applause. Thank you, Henk. Using again the possibilities of moderator, I have a question for you as in fact, business representative. And playing this time a bit, of course, the devil's advocate, because you mentioned only a good words and compliments to Latvia, and the context is right. We have kind of a celebration conference here, but still playing this critical perspective, the challenges you see from your perspective, the challenges here in Latvia particularly, might be from legislative perspective, might be from business praxis perspective, but what you see, which field should be improved here in the magnificent country of ours to deal with the business better on the European and the world scale?
Now, you know that I am representing Samskip. So, and I mentioned the names of our colleagues or competitors because we are not in that market actually. So we can offer warehousing and also we operate a rail terminal in Germany as well. So we can definitely be a part of that. But in my view, we should do it together because these global players, they have their network. And when we want to be competitive, we should make use of their network, because in our industry, a lot of people, they find out the wheel again, but that is not possible anymore. We are sitting in a deep competition at the moment with not, in the old days we were talking about, I was in the conference on Lübeck on Monday. In the old days we spoke about the competition from the East European drivers, that was also including Latvia. Today that is over, because today they talk about competition from Bulgarian and Romanian drivers. So for the West European industry, transport industry, almost the only way to make some profit and survive is to make the best combinations together. And when you are talking about trains, when I started the train operation, when the filling rate was 85%, we were making not a loss, it was a small profit. But when our trains today are not 98% filled, there is no margin anymore. So it is all real very thin. It will change, because we have seen now from vanDieren, there are 93 ships sailing around the world or laying in the area from the ports. So I spoke this morning to a big importer from the Far East. He said to me, I expect that the rates will increase heavily after this debacle from vanDieren. And it is a debacle because you know that almost 14 billion dollar goods are sailing around the world, and the customers, they need it and they cannot get it. So they have learned from it. I think we are really at the edge now when you're talking about freight rates. And the only way to survive the coming years that we do it together and make the right communication between each other. Again, in our industry, trust, and that is quite difficult. But I see it comes more and more that people say, let me join our forces. And again, I mentioned it earlier, it's easier to split €1 profit and then €2 loss between each other.
That's final sentence about €1 gain or €2 loss. That's a very good. I'm going to steal that from you for the future conferences. But just very shortly, the final remark. The slogan "We should work together" is a good one. It's hard to argue with that. But in reality, I remember my school time when I was in school here in Riga, then when the neighbor school was coming to our class just for fight, and that's what we did. We were fighting in between each other, kind of street boxing. Then in our class we had this sentiment, we should go together, and at the end of the day it was always 1 against 5 or something like that. How do you feel this sentiment? It's logical we should go together, but taking into account the European political context, other contexts, competition, is this like zeitgeist? Are the people really understanding, the states are understanding that they have to go together, or this is just this future slogan where we are still moving on?
No, in my view, that most of the government, they are not aware of it. But the bigger companies, they see more and more need for cooperation. Because on Monday I heard really that from, for instance, from Poland, the whole strategy of the government is trucking. It's unbelievable when you see this amount of trucks on the road, but they have no focus for intermodal. So we are talking here about environment and all the other things, actions we are taking in order to reduce the footprint. Yeah, that's taken in that country. They promote trucking instead of intermodal. So, and there are so different rules in other European countries. And absolutely, when you compare that with the rules we have in Germany and the Benelux and Belgium and France, there is a big gap between, and that will take years. In Poland, it took, I think, 15 years. The salary in Poland of a driver is today around 84% of the minimum salary in Holland and Germany. So most of the Polish drivers, they go back to their home country, but now we get the other ones from the southern part of Europe, and they have a complete different approach and also a complete different salary. And they're talking about it. Last Monday, one of the speakers was mentioned in Lübeck that there are drivers, that the dogs in Germany, they have a better life than these drivers. And that is, in my view, as a human point, is unacceptable.
Thank you very much, Henk. Applause one more time for this wonderful presentation. Souvenir from magnificent hands of our assistant.